Committee on Ways and Means, and I will ask that we open the meeting with invocation. Councilman Shea, will you do that for us?
Yeah, thank you. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you've given us. We thank you for the great team that our city has and the way they had prepared us last week for the possible worst. Lord, while we were spared from the heavy winds and storms, we know that our neighbors in South Carolina and North Carolina are suffering right now. We ask that you'll be with each person affected by the storm. We ask for healing for those that are injured, and that you'll be with and comfort the families of those who've lost their lives. Be with the police, firefighters, and other responders who continue to restore their neighborhoods to safety and rescue those who are in need. Be with the local, state, and national leaders. Guide them as these communities are restored. And Lord, help us to know how the city of Charleston is to respond and aid and what role we should play. We ask your blessings on this meeting tonight. We have some important decisions in this committee. Give us wisdom to allow us to have a sense of the true needs of our people, and ultimately allow your will to be done. For it's in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Yes, you can use mine.
All right, the first item is approval of minutes, but those minutes have been deferred until the next council meeting. So we'll move on to bids and purchases. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 4 is a budget and finance and revenue collection. Approval to submit a grant application for electronic theater controls. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 5, budget and finance revenue collection, approval for $10,000 of a natatorium study. Any discussion? Councilman Moody.
Yeah, I was a little bit interested in this item. It seems that it's been approved, but there is no funding available. Is there any place we can get this $10,000? Because I'm understanding that this study is about ready to be done and released and everything. Madam CFO.
Well, so there's no identified funding for it at all. So I'm watching, but we can do a budget amendment towards the end of the year. I'm sure that we'll have some savings by the end of the year.
Well, I think it would be appropriate to $10,000. Go ahead and approve it all funded. And I know that when we did the budget last year, there was $500,000 set around for this underground wiring, but I'm not going to get it spent all this year. And that's out of the hospitality fund. And it would certainly, I think this would meet that hospitality criteria. So I would amend this motion to approve that be taken out of those hospitality funds that we found surplus taken out of that. I take that amendment.
All right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 6 is budget and finance revenue collection, approval of monthly support for September through December for the HOP, total of $121,800. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 7 was from the legal department. That was for the emergency management division. We have actually already heard that and approved that in an emergency city council conference on September 9th. So unless there's further discussion or questions, we'll move on to item 8, which is the police department approval of the fiscal year 18 VOCA continuation award for the positions of elder advocate and resource specialist. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 9 is police department approval fiscal year. Well, this says fiscal year 16. I'm not sure if that's accurate. It's probably fiscal year 18, correct? HMG?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 10 is the Parks Department approval of deposit 2018 Lowe's Community Partnership Grant. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Mayor's Office on Children, Youth, and Families, approval to apply for a youth build grant in the amount of $950,000. Is there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 12 is Mayor's Office on Children, Youth, and Families, approval acceptance of award for $6,000 for Youth Service America. Any discussion?
On item 12, how do we determine which day of service? I see you have 9/11, you have MLK Day, Global Youth Service Day. Was there any thought given to something regarding the Motherland tragedy?
Sir, those days are actually dictated by the grant. However, with the MLK Day of Service, I think we could certainly do that. They are themed days, but it's broadly construed, and even regardless, we'd be happy to consider any other efforts to connect youth with that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 13 is Office of Cultural Affairs, approve a $10,000 Volvo Cars Community Investment Grant. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14 is Office of Cultural Affairs, approval for grant award of $38,080. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 15 is Office of Cultural Affairs, approval to accept the grant award. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Police Department, item 16 is renew agreement amendment with South Carolina. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 17 is Police Department approval agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 18 is Police Department memorandum agreement with Berkeley County. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Item 19 is a memorandum agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 20, Parks and Capital Projects, approval to accept the federal grant funding. The amount of $75,923. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 21, Public Service Approval of Construction Contract with S.J. Hamill Construction Company in the amount of $935,506 to restore riprap at High Battery. Any discussion? Council.
We just turned in all of our FEMA projects into FEMA, actually. I'm not exactly sure when it will be approved. It takes a long time, usually. So I hope by the end of the year, but I don't know that it won't come in until next year.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 22, Public Service approval adjust the total contract for Smith Street Brick Arch Repairs. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 23, Parks and Capital Projects. Any discussion? Mr. Mayor.
I would like to kindly recognize that we have honored to have in our presence tonight our former mayor, Joe Riley, and Michael Moore. This is an item of very interesting. This is the local time mayor of the altar to rescue the item.
Michael? Yeah, please, by all means.
Good evening. My name is Michael Moore. I'm the President and CEO of the International African American Museum. We are so excited to be with you this evening. We have...
He's excited. When he says excited, he means excited.
I promise I didn't rehearse that. So, as I was saying, You may have heard a couple of weeks ago, we announced that we had finally reached our fundraising goal that allows us to come here and be with you today. And first, we want to obviously thank Mayor Tecklenburg and thank all the members of the council for the leadership that you all have showed to get us to this point today. And what I'd like to do is quickly show a little more than a minute video that will be new to you. I know we sent you a presentation deck that you can go through at your leisure to see the details of what we're doing, but this will give you a sense about the construction process and how the museum will rise out of the earth. Yeah, I wish. And this is not what the museum, the interior will look like, but it does show the structure of the space. This will be our Center for Family History facing the city of Charleston. Heading back toward the center. Then heading toward the Cooper River. So I'd like to take just a moment to introduce our staff who have joined us. This time last year it was 1 or 2 people, and now we've got 8, and we're building a real world-class team to sort of bring this vision to life. So if you could just stand quickly, this is Marion Gill is our Director of Planning and Operations. She's a graduate of Fisk University and spent, she says, 30 years at the Smithsonian Institution. I don't know how it could be that long, but she was one of the key people at the National Museum of African American History and Culture who actually built the museum. There's a lot of fluff going on the outside. Well, she's the one who built it. So that's Marion. In front of her is Brenda Tyndall. Brenda's from Charlotte. She is our Director of Education and Engagement. We have enormous plans within the museum, but perhaps even more aggressive outside of the museum to spread the word and to share the message and the stories and the history of what we're doing, and that will be in her purview. She's from Charlotte, as I mentioned, went to UNC Charlotte, got a master's from Emory, and is just about to finish up her PhD at Emory. Next to her is Demet Jenkins. Demet is our Lilly Director of Education and Engagement for faith-based communities. She's a minister. She comes to us from Johns Island, is the granddaughter of Esau Jenkins, who is a noted figure, and is really focusing on building relationships with the faith-based community. Next to her is Carlos Guzman Gonzalez. Carlos is perhaps the youngest member of our group, just got out of college, out of the College of Charleston, and is a development assistant helping us to build the infrastructure of our fundraising effort. Next to him is Joy Bivens. Joy is our chief curator, extremely important position. She comes to us from the Chicago History Museum with 15 plus years of curatorial experience, has degrees from Cornell and Michigan. And then our chief operating officer is Dr. Elijah Hayward. Elijah has an undergraduate degree at Hampton, has a master's in religion from Yale, and has a PhD from UNC, and just joined us recently. And in front of him is Ginny Deeren. You all know Ginny. Ginny has been with us wearing a number of hats, but really fundamentally has been the driving force behind our fundraising, and has been doing a wonderful job. The other person who really needs no introduction, but who has really been at the head of this team and driving us forward is former Mayor Riley. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Michael. Mayor Tecklenburg, members of City Council, city staff, members of the International African American Museum staff, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a momentous occasion for us for working with many of you. This dream has taken about 18 years, and we are ready with your support tonight to really begin the act of constructing the museum. And the museum will be an extraordinary institution for this community and for our state, but it's also a gift of our community to the country for what we will present on one of the most sacred sites of African American history in the Western Hemisphere is a building that will tell the story that we don't know, that America doesn't know, and a story that only can best be told here in this community and on this site where many were brought in chains, and they and their descendants have helped build this country. So for us, this is very special to be before you tonight. The $75 million has been raised. City Council and a part of that $75 million. And the design overseen by city staff, a wonderful capital projects division, the budget finance and revenue collection, Amy and her team, the planning department, and so many here, Vanessa and others have been working on this, as you members of City Council have, for a long, long time. So we're excited tonight to come before you to ask for your approval for Brownstone, the construction manager at risk, Turner Brownstone, to be awarded the contract to begin the process of getting the bids and then bringing those back to you later on this year for your action and the beginning of construction. I might add just one thing that we asked the Convention and Visitors Bureau to do an economic impact study for us. We're building this for the intrinsic value and importance, but it will have a huge positive economic impact on this region, and it's estimated the first year economic impact would be about $125 million, and then the attendance usually more the first year, but it'll level out about $100 million a year of the economic impact of people coming here, visiting the museum, extending their stay, investing in the community, creating jobs, and adding value. So we thank you for all of your support, and look forward to continue to work with you and ask for your support of this motion tonight to allow us to move forward. Thank you very much.
This is dropping night.
All right. I think we've got a motion on the floor. Okay. It's been seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Waring.
We have any representatives from Turner Brownstone in the House? I thought we would. They did a wonderful presentation during the competitive process, which I attended. I would like, hopefully, for them to address how they would build this in an inclusionary way to include women and minority businesses.
Definitely. Well, one of the ways that we're actually going to go about it that we presented on is being able to be inclusive of everybody in the community, is being able to, number one, bring outreach to everybody, but that piece of more than just outreach of reaching out to people that we know, that piece of the trusted community, but understanding that we have a contractor following of a lot of the minority companies here in town. And so it's that piece of understanding the record of, with Brownstone and Turner, we've also had opportunities for USC School of Law, where we've had over 30-some% of participation. And then right down the road, MUSC Children's Hospital Project, and we've also gone over about 40-some% of minority women-owned participation. And so in order to include as many people as possible is this first part of getting the GMP together and getting people on board to where we get people pre-qualified, we get opportunities for them, and then we show them where they can participate on the project. And so we cast this net far and wide, and anybody that wants to be a part of the project, we don't turn anybody away. We give everybody an opportunity, whether it's an opportunity to get a prime contract, or if it's a second tier, third tier, supplier, vendor. We even joke about it and say the piece of, even if you supply cups, if you provide coffee, paper, food, vendors, catering, we want to give everybody the opportunity to be a part of the project. So we don't exclude anybody from it, but that process of just casting the net wide and bringing everybody to the table and allowing them to see where they can participate in the project.
Well, as I said, it was a wonderful presentation. Can that PowerPoint presentation be provided, obviously after the meeting, to the mayor and all members of council?
Of course. Yes, we'd love them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Councilor Gregory?
Yeah, as you know, many of our minority and women business contractors suffers from bonding capacity. Will you assist in bonding those that may need bonded in order to participate?
Yes, great question. So with this project, we're also looking for what's a CSIP program, so our contractor controlled insurance program. And so that piece of bonding and helping people out is just one piece of making sure that everybody has an opportunity. And then we'll even go one step further where we have an opportunity for advanced payment, because we understand where minority small-owned businesses, they have a problem with going out net 30, net 50, net 60, basically where they turn in their pay application and it takes so long for them to get paid. And so we're also offering that opportunity, and that's part of the pre-qualification to identify that if you have any kind of financial issues, we want to step up in place of that and give those opportunities for people and close that gap, because we understand that's where a lot of opportunities are missed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Waring?
And how will you close that gap? Because that net 30 versus receiving payment 90 days out eliminates a lot of small and minority-owned businesses.
It does, and that piece of as soon as you come to the table, we do an evaluation, and so that pre-qualification that we do with a lot of people is to first figure out what is your burn rate, what is your payroll, what will actually help you with working capital. If you get a contract and you don't start your work early on, we want to be able to sit with you and say, well, what material can we go ahead and give you a check for to release that material? So then when you hit the job, you're already running ahead of time, even if that's a joint check with your supplier or if they're sitting down and going through pay applications. We do all that process with them to kind of close that gap and figure it out. And we don't wait for problems, because that'll be the big issue. You're welcome. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 24 is the Committee on Real Estate. Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a pretty important meeting yesterday evening. Items A, B, and C that are on your agenda there were approved unanimously. Items D and E were also approved. That has to do with that homeless support facility down at 529. We accepted a termination of a lease. That was basically because that we are family. We were expanding our scope down there, and we were kind of getting outside of their realm, so they wanted to kind of get out, and we've turned it over to this Military Community Connections of South Carolina to provide that support. So both of those were approved. Item F, deals with the assignment of the lease on the city marina. The beach company has that lease now on the parking lot in the front and on the marina itself. The city marina, the beach company or whatever their company is merging their operations, which include not only those two items, but a couple other pieces, actually 3 other pieces, the Bristol Marina, some dockage at the Ashley Harbor, and then the facility out in Cainhoy. All that's going into a company called Safe Harbor, and it is a big national company that manages marinas up and down, all over the Great Lakes. I think what was the number, 35,000 members, something like that. They are a much, much bigger company than the beach company. I think the beach company is going to take an ownership in it, and it's going to be like 1% or something. I don't know, but it's a small number. So it's a very substantial company. We've met with the CEO of development. He was in town right before the storm, and when we had to move everything, we went ahead and met with them, and we approved that item. Item G, that you got all of that information on that. This is the flagship. 2 and 3 are going, or 1 and 2 are going to move into that building there on Meeting Street until they can get their new facility built up on Morrison Drive. Basically, we negotiated a contract termination of our lease at where they are now, and we're going to get about $900,000, and that's going to go into this new, not in the new facilities on Morrison, but to upfit the new lease space where they're temporary. And basically, from what you have, we did make one amendment to that, to if they can save money, and if they can do something for less than the $900,000, that can be used into the new facility. So we're not taking anything away from them. So if they can, we wanted to incentivize them to maybe be real frugal and take some of that money, they could upfit the new thing. So we got $900,000. That's the extent of our exposure. We don't go over that. So we amended what you have to add that to allow any savings to go to the next move from the digital corridor. And then there was one annexation that we approved. So I would make a motion that we approve all of those items.
Second. Any discussion?
Question.
Councilman Shade?
Go ahead. Seniority over me, that's all right.
Okay, on D and E, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you said lease agreement. This says license agreement.
Well, a license agreement, yeah. I guess we had a license, we terminated the license agreement, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Councilman Waring?
You may have touched on it, but maybe I missed it, but with the marina, the new entity is going to keep the employees for a period of time. I thought
I didn't say that, but that's exactly right. All of the city marina employees are going to transfer over to the new entity.
Councilman Shade, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Moody, just maybe a little bit off the subject with the marina, but the last time I was out there, we used to have a boat launch for the marina, and I guess it got silted in. Are there any plans at all by the beach company or this new corporation as to making that marina available so the public can use it for boat launching?
Two things. We did talk about that, that there would still be a public access to that. The other thing is the new entity is going to spend about $20 million in improvements on the marina. So there's going to be a big infusion. But there is a problem there with the silting, and we talked about that, and what they came up. They can't dredge that silt because it's toxic, and they can't dig it up.
That's comforting to know.
Well, that's what they told us. I mean, we had that question, but all that silt is toxic, and the Corps and DHEC and everybody will not let them go out into that stuff and start digging it out because of what may come out of it.
But part of this improvement, you think, may include a boat launch?
I don't know that that was discussed specifically, because I think most of this improvement is going to be extending the docks on out further.
Thank you. Councilwoman Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Siggins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Councilmember Moody, I want to follow up. Councilmember Waring asked the one question I had. On the future capital improvements that you mentioned, you said somewhat $20 million. Did you get into any detail about what those capital improvements were going to look like? Whether they were going to be dockside or landside improvements? Did they give you any idea?
My understanding is they're dockside. I mean, they're going to be extending the docks out further.
Do you know whether they have any plans at all near or long-term to make improvements to the parking area and that whole land-based operation that they've got there, which is...
They did not talk about that, but that might be the new launch site for the boat, because every time I go down there, the parking lot's full of water.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Jackson.
And while we're just talking about things that they might take on under the new big company, they're also, they've been educated and seem to be very interested in helping out with the Ashley River Walk. So I think that's something we should pursue pretty actively.
Yeah, we did talk about that they would make that, all that property or access would be available for, I hope that Mayor Riley is still here when we complete that walk around the peninsula. We're still working on it, sir.
Yeah, inch by inch.
I hope I'm still here, and I hope I'm still all there.
Right.
So anyway, that's my report.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, just to make an introduction so everybody will know a face with a name, I'd like to introduce Maria Elena Rowland, who's here tonight. Maria Elena, she's working down She's the Director of Military Community Connections, who will be our new operator for the Day Resource Center at 529 Union Street, and has already proven with the work done just this weekend in dealing with a number of folks experiencing homelessness who came back from various Red Cross shelters. They have a remarkable compassion, but also a great organization and keep things in order. So I just wanted to...
Yeah, and I'd say thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I got home, I did get your text on the Maria's contact information, so I've already passed that along to my wife, so.
Thank you, Mayor. Today was a continuing of completing of the rest of the folks. We saw a number close to over 20 people today alone that walked into the center because the word's getting out. But what was amazing was the people that came in said they just needed their laundry done, but I sat in. Our process is we want to find out about the whole person and holistically help them. And they were like, oh my gosh, I needed that help. And one brought the son in and the brother in and the mother needed help, and it just goes on. And we found at least placed four more today, along with employment, because that's our key is housing and employment. But when I started Military Community Connections for our veterans, it was based on we have to have a foundation for these folks first before we can get them into housing. And we've got an amazing team. And I have to tell you, Mayor, that group that we had at the shelter over the weekend has really connected as a family, and they'll always be together and they're supporting each other, and it was just amazing to see. But thank you. I love being a part of this, and thank you for allowing me to do this work.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. We do have an executive session under item 25, and it is for us to go into executive session to discuss contractual negotiations related to equine sanitation services. Is there a motion to go into executive session? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. I think we'll meet in your...
But anyway, we should talk more. I did too, I would too.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Can I get a motion for us to come out of executive session?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Let the record reflect that during executive session, we discussed contractual matters, but no action was taken. So the floor is open for any further discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we cancel the solicitation we have for the sanitary services.
Cut his microphone.
Outstanding solicitation, that we cancel that, and we authorize the mayor and staff to provide a contract for that short-term contract.
Emergency contract.
Emergency contract, yeah.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and the ayes have it. And if there is no further business to come before this committee, we'll stand adjourned. Oh.
I will be the next time around.
All right. I'd like to call this September 18th meeting of City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember White. Here. Councilmember Shields.